What is up, everybody? We are doing another video, and this video is going to be on, well, I guess the full take of Donkey Kong Bananza. But let's be real, with things unfiltered and unscripted as we've come to expect here, this is going to be probably a much bigger focus than just Bananza itself. I'll try to keep it focused on Bananza for the most part, but like at this point, for one, I wanted to get out this video much earlier. And due to a combination of personal health issues, which to some extent I'm still going through, but also, frankly, during this time, also just playing the absolute hell out of DK Bananza, period. The combination of the two things have delayed when I wanted to put this out. To the point where the footage that I recorded for this video doesn't even reflect my current progress, because chances are by the time I actually put this out, and I do know this admittedly upon recording the voiceover for it, that I have 3 stars on my file. Like, I've done everything on the game. And I don't understand why people say 100% is 1,000 bananas, because you don't need 1,000 bananas to get all the skill points and have done everything in the game. But I guess people just want an even number to be able to say they've done everything, even though there's literally no point. With that quick bit out of the way, and someone can feel free to, because DK Bananza is still hot enough a topic on here, so if someone wants to correct me on that or tell me something I don't know, feel free to do so. I will try not to spoil much outside of, obvious level spoilers will be obvious, so there is a warning for that in advance. But I'm just going to blow the lid on my overall opinions, alongside kind of value and the gaming space, like, has been a common topic in my last few videos. So, and I say that all to say this, because this is a long-winded intro, which again, I do want to try and keep the focus on DK Bananza for the most part. All in all, I like Donkey Kong Bananza. I also think it is a unique Nintendo title for a couple reasons. The first one being, and I have a friend of mine to thank for part of the inspiration, like, behind this, but personally, while I respect what Odyssey has done for the gaming space, as well as Breath of the Wild, and to a lesser extent Tears of the Kingdom after it, I don't view any of these 3 games as like this grand gem in gaming. I think they're good for what they've done, and personal feelings wise, I have more strong feelings about Odyssey, although there are titles that I would put over it for sure, but like, even just within the Mario series. But I don't view any of those 3 games as highly as I think both Metacritic, OpenCritic, and maybe your average fan of the series, or even Nintendo as a whole, views them. I put Bananza above all of them, because I think modern day Nintendo has been perfected with this game. Even if the reason it does it, even if the reason for that, I should say, is because, to some extent, it just, I don't know, it plays all the right cards to always get you to want to do something. Like, everything you do, there's actually, you're always going towards something. You're always making your own mission. You could say that about the Zelda games, because you explore and you do this and you can do it however you want. You can fight Ganon with next to nothing. Great, wonderful. That is cool. So nothing bad to say about that, but like, there's always something you're chasing in this. Even the closest thing to be considered a fetch quest in Donkey Kong Bananza, which would be getting the crystal people, guiding them to be able to get bananas, guiding them to the parent crystal person. Those are kind of annoying. The objectives do kind of become the same certain objectives become the same per layer that you visit when you are collecting all the things, which that in itself is not something I'm usually into. I don't really care about the collectathon. I didn't care about it back in the day of Mario 64, and I didn't find myself caring about it up until this game. But something about it, just the constant chase of the bananas, the increasing the skill tree, the being able to break the ever-living shit out of every background that there is, and give or take a few layers that are ass, in my opinion, it's just fun. It stays consistently fun. And the only other game this year that has stayed consistently fun has been Clair Obscur. I think both games are basically like 10 out of 10 material. Maybe for different reasons, but I also have to specify, like, because as I say 10 out of 10 material, I struggle with assigning a number to a game, because like 10 to me, you can't get higher than 10, or you don't turn it up to 11, so to say, for review scores, right? Like 10's the highest. But in my mind, 10 assumes a perfect game. And what really is a perfect game? Especially nowadays, right? Like, there's a lot more involved in making a game, and it is a lot harder to make it perfect. And DK Bananza is by no means a perfect game, but it is close enough to it to where I would give it that score. So with that context, yes, it would get a 10. In the context where 10 assumes a perfect game, I'd still probably give it like a 9, 9.5. And I would say that same thing applies to Clair Obscur, but it would be for different reasons. It's not for some levels not as fun, or performance issues. Those reasons would differ for Clair Obscur, but I'm going to try to have that be the last time I mention it until I potentially go into value perspective of gaming, because that's part of also where I'm going to go with all of this. But DK Bananza, to try to stay focused, at least for some point in this video, I wasn't expecting a skill tree, and there are some things that are more useful than others, if for no other reason than the game's easy as hell. Like the boss fights are very easy, with the exception of the last one, which I won't spoil what that is here, as I do think that is something you should experience yourself. It kind of becomes obvious as to, what I'm not going to spoil here as you play the game, but that's all I'm going to say on that for anyone who has not gotten to this point, even with this video coming out later than I'd like. That's all I'm going to say on that to avoid spoilers. But the skill tree is fun. The different forms you get are fun. The majority of the levels are fun. The destructibility, voxel destruction, whatever the heck it is fun. Some of Pauline's lines are kind of annoying, and or not necessary, but it adds to the charm of the game. It doesn't take itself too seriously. The game is consistently fun at any and all times. It does feel like, even though it's not Rare who made it, it's the Odyssey team, it really feels like they're going back to a more playful time while still having the game be consistently fun. It's just, if this is what new Nintendo has to offer, because let's be real, it is a very different Nintendo and has been since Iwata's passing, rest in peace. The final vision remnants, like little traces of Iwata being behind the launch of the Switch and the overall success and so on and so forth after the flop of the Wii U. If this is to be what to expect from new Nintendo, which is all I'll say about that, because like my last video alluded to, you know, this being a very different Nintendo. It's felt, it's known. If this is what to expect from a newer Nintendo, I am all for it. Like, more of this. While I overall, as per previous videos, do not regret my purchase of a Switch 2, this would get me a lot more excited for the future of the Switch 2. It's easily the best thing about it so far, and should be the bundled title. Like, I think I said that in the last video, and I sure as hell stand by it now. Like, DK Bananza is just great all around. And there are a couple of boss fights where the performance is not that great, but quite honestly, because of how easy the boss fights are anyway, once you discover how to do them, they will end pretty quickly. And you might not even notice the few spots where there's an issue. Where you will consistently notice there is a performance issue, which I think I've also already mentioned because it was obvious early on, is when you, and unfortunately it's something you're doing consistently throughout the game, is when you first grab a banana. Or when you grab a banana at all. Like, just upon getting it, you can feel that slight frame drop, but like nothing's happening at that point anyway. It's not interrupting any gameplay. It's just going towards your banana that you're going to hear consistently as you collect them throughout the game. So it's actually happening quite often. It's just nothing's happening at that point, so really it's like almost a non-point. But the game is just consistently fun and consistently sets the expectation of, like, I want to play things of this caliber moving forward. I felt this with Clair Obscur. I feel this with this game. The two games this year are really setting, like, a new standard of sorts. So this year, or I should say this month. Actually, I can't say that anymore. It was a couple of months back. Last month. It was last month when DK Bananza came out, right? Time slips me at this point. But, yeah, last month. I bought like 5 games last month. And I don't know how many of them I'm necessarily going to finish. Hopefully all of them. But, like, not even all of them are necessarily new. I'm going to try and remember off the top of my head just to, you know, give some context to this. I got Chronicles of the Wolf, which I did a video for. I got Metroid Prime Remastered. I got DK Bananza. I got Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and Shadow Labyrinth. That's the other game. Shadow Labyrinth, I realized pretty quickly, it's fine for what it is, but might not meet the standard of gaming I'm looking for. And it was already a budget game, which I paid even less for, because I used like points or something. But like, I want to do my best to have a game that's worth my time, or value, and that's subjective. You know, everyone's gonna have different opinions on that, but like, I'm a lot more picky now. As we age further and further into adulthood, you find yourself really just doing your best to not only get what one considers to be the most value out of a game, but also you really just hope it doesn't suck. And this doesn't mean the game has to be perfect, but you definitely want more highs than lows, because it'll make it very easy to quit, especially if a lot of us are honest that we have a big backlog and don't necessarily need new games, right? Because the other thing is this. For the rest of the year, I have maybe 2 games that I'm considering. And one other that I think I'm just going to play through a friend and save the money. But that's it. For the rest of the year, like 3 titles. That's not a lot. And even with those titles, I don't think any of them are going to match my experience with DK Bananza. Also, Claire Obscure. I can't, like, I said I'm gonna try and keep my focus away from there, but like it keeps coming up, right? Like it's where the value's at currently. And needless to say, there's a $20 difference between the two. But I would say it's worth the price. Both games are currently worth their asking price. If you can get the value and not have to pay between $60 to $80 for the game, even better. But the value is there. This is the first Nintendo game I think is worth its asking price on the Switch 2. And hopefully we get more things like it. That's really all I can say in that regard. But this is the value I'm looking for. Like this is set a new standard for me. I don't know the last time I felt this way about a Nintendo game. I don't. I really don't. Because the easy thing, just because I name dropped it earlier, could be Odyssey. But if I'm being real, I'm not so sure about that. Like, I feel much better about DK Bananza currently than I can recall from when I played Odyssey. Because even when I finished Bananza, there's post-game content. And there was post-game content in Odyssey as well, but I didn't feel compelled to do that. I didn't care. Like, once I was done with the core game, that's it. With DK Bananza, I wanted to instantly get right back into it, do the post-game stuff. And even a little bit after the post-game stuff, because I needed a few more bananas to actually max out the skill tree. Like, I have one thing that was missing from the skill tree, and I wanted to complete it for, to not have it be the, like, untouched thing. And you could debate that's the 1,000 bananas, but again, I like I said earlier, I don't think there's a point. I don't think you need all that. So with the exception of that, to tie things in a nice bow and complete everything I was doing there, I felt compelled to do it. I didn't really feel fatigued at any given point. There are slight moments where I was like, yeah, I'd rather not be doing this, but that's less about the game and more about like the particular either form you take. I tend to not be a big fan of the Zebra overall. I think the controls for it is ass. In fact, if there's fuck the performance issues, the Zebra to me just controls like dog shit, and it's consistently proven with the challenges of the game, which I suppose I have to leave it at that for potential spoilers. But like, anytime you have to control the Zebra for any given point, it's just not desirable. Especially if you're trying to go fast and use the charge dash, where you get even less control of the fucker. It's bad. I don't like it. If there's a negative point of the game, it is that and or the layer that's specifically involved when you get it, because that's naturally when you would do it outside of individual challenges. And again, I have to be really careful at this point to not spoil anything past that along those lines. So That would be my biggest negative point from the game, but I still think it is a solid, depending on how we want to do a numbered system for ranking, between a 9 or 9.5, with the assumption 10 is a perfect game, or if 10 is leverage and close enough to a perfect game, then I would give it a 10. And really, I think that ties a nice bow on all of this, because what else is there truly to say? You even have, you can play Fashion Kong, you know? You can get outfits for Donkey Kong and for Pauline, and even that has its own charm. But also, you do get benefits for these outfits as well. It's not just a collectathon for those things. You actually get in-game rewards for getting these things. So, like, everything is always going towards something. So, you're not just wondering to advance the plot, which that would be fine, but that's not what you're doing. You're always getting some kind of objective in what you're doing. You legit get to choose your own adventure, and it feels like one consistently. Like, nothing you do is utterly pointless. Even the fetch quests are not pointless. Like, you're going to get 2 bananas out of it. There is a reason you're doing it. And this just stays consistently true. It's what keeps me going in the game. I think before this gets too much more of like a ramble fest, I honestly think this is where we could put a nice knot on everything. This sets a new standard, or at least 50% of why it sets a new standard. I'm not going to mention the other game again. Trying real hard not to, even though it applies. But yeah, a new standard has been set this year. And I've already found myself over the years like choosing less and less, like trying to be more intentful with my choices, outside of like bargain deals that hit Steam and whatever. But you know, usually those are very non-costly as is. But like, I find myself over the years really just picking and choosing, like, do I really need this particular game title for whatever reason? Do I want to wait for a sale? Maybe even if somebody else is interested in it, split the cost with them to get it. Like, I don't need all the games all the time. And frankly, some of them could feel like a chore. I did not feel that way at all, ever, in Donkey Kong Bananza. And that in itself sells me on the game. And while my partner did make a generous offer to split the game with me, I would have gladly paid full price for this game. Take care, everybody. I hope if you do have a Switch 2, you get this game. It has my highest recommendation, easily, by far. And/or could very well be the reason to sway you towards getting a Switch 2. That's all I got. Take care. Have a good one. I will see you guys in the next one. Later.
Donkey Kong is here!